Hey, what's going on, Ross?
Pressure washer.
Yeah, cleaning it out.
Why you put that on the dog? Is it locked? The pressure is locked?
Oh yeah, there's we just did a rebuild on the differential.
The only person I know that can knock the ball with jazz is George Foreman.
Hopefully we will work more. Because Trump will see that on the board. I'm worried not about seeing them, I'm worried about Russia. Because the Russians are there. Yeah.
Okay, so this vehicle has been sitting in the customer's driveway for a really long time. He assumed he needed a clutch done, and he said he also broke his alternator belt. So we just want to verify the complaint before we just start tearing into it. So hopefully the camera was able to pick that up. When we released the clutch, obviously the noise went away because the clutch release bearing is no longer contacting the pressure plate. So it looks like we do need to pull this transmission out and get another clutch thrown in there. So let's get this thing up in the air. Okay, so before we put it up in the air, and we got it down, let's take everything off. We need to get out the way while it's down. We'll start with the battery. Okay, let's see. Get this air cleaner out. Well, now we can see our transmission now. I'm gonna move this battery tray too. Give us a little more clearance. Now we can see our transmission, see where we want to go. Guess first thing I'll do is start unplugging electrical and getting the starter out, and then I'll move on from there. Moved out the way. Get access to that hole under there now. So this should give us plenty of room to be able to get to our bell housing bolts and our starter bolts. So I'm gonna get a zip tie here and just sort of hold this up out of the way so we can get access down here. We need to get to.
Hey Brian, can you give me a hand over here? It's all ready for this transmission to come out.
All right, guys, let's come around here and give Des a hand with this H3 Hummer. All right, back to our regularly scheduled program. I'm gonna pull this starter out right here. See how many bolts we're working with here. One. Looks like typical 2 bolts, 14 millimeter. Alright, got our starter out. Set this down somewhere. Alright, let's see. What do we got here? All the stuff out of our way. That gives us clear access to get up under here and get our bell housing bolts. Alright, so we got that out the way. Let's go ahead and get the shift linkage. I'm gonna go ahead and move this throttle linkage so it's not in my way. Little tip too on these zip ties. If you want to just hold stuff out of the way that doesn't really have a lot of tension on it, you can put them on backwards and slide them in, and they'll hold things out of your way, and you can pull it back out. Basically just put it in the wrong way. So a lot of times I'll do that so that I don't waste the zip tie. So basically I'll just put it on. Say if I were holding these two together, I'll just put it on backwards and pull it down just to hold them momentarily while I'm doing something. And then you can just pull it right back out and you still got a good zip tie. So that's a little tip to save money in your shop from going through a lot of zip ties. So that's what in this case though, I'm gonna go ahead and zip tie it together because I'm really pulling these throttle cables over. So anyway, back to our clutch linkage. Got one free. The second one free. Alright. We'll get a new cotter pin for this side. We'll probably get new cotter pins for both sides anyway. No way you can mix these up. One small, one large. Sliding these little locking clips, instead of sliding these up and pulling out the linkage, I think I'm just gonna unbolt this this whole bracket that holds them and just take it out that way. Glad I did that. Now I can see this vehicle speed sensor back here. Got that unplugged. Okay, so it looks like for the most part we got all the electrical undone, and we got the shift linkage undone. So now let's, as always, get the hydraulics on. We want to leave the hydraulic lines attached, so we're just gonna unmount the slave cylinder and leave all the lines attached, of course. Got it out. Alright, so we'll leave it all attached. Got our slave cylinder detached. We'll just set it up over here out the way. And our dust boot. Moving right along. Alright, so for the most part we got everything off the top of our transmission. So that's looking good. But while we're up here, I'm gonna go ahead and get those upper bell housing bolts off, and this motor mount, or excuse me, this transmission mount, because we still have bottom bolts attached, as well as one other mount on the front of the vehicle. So it'll still be supported pretty good. So we'll just hit these bell housing bolts while we're already here. Alright, so those are all the top bell housing bolts we just got out. We're going to get this stuff off while we're up here as well. Alright, so we got this one out, and also going to hit these other two. Alright, we're freed up from the back, and that's pretty much everything from the top, I do believe. So at this point we can raise the vehicle up and and get everything from the bottle and pull it out. Alright, so let's knock our wheels off. Are busting these axles out. Axle out. All right, now is a good time to go ahead and crack our drain plug. It'll make the transmission a bit lighter and a little easier to manage if we get all the fluid out. Besides, we got new fluid to pump in anyway, so now would be a good time to drain it out. So let's crack the plug. Fluid drained out. Fluid doesn't look too bad, so that's good. Same thing on this side, of course. All right, so next I'm gonna go ahead and drop the exhaust because you have to lower the frame down in order to get the transmission out. So let's get this the exhaust dropped so we can get our frame down. Alright, we're pretty much ready to drop this frame down, hit all the frame bolts and lower it. I just need to get these little retaining pins out, move this splash shield down so I can get it off the frame. Got the little splash shield down, so we can let our frame down. I'm gonna go around and just loosen up the frame bolts. Get some screw jacks to support our frame, and so now that we got our frame supported on both sides, we go ahead and get these last little transmission mounts that's attached to the frame and go ahead and let it out. Alright, so these are the last 3 bolts attached to our frame. So we got our subframe down. It's a pretty light frame, so it's low enough to basically just pick it up and move it off of these screw jacks. So, yeah. So we got our frame down. Let's go up with our transmission jack, and there's just a couple more bolts attached to the engine block. About 3 bolts left. So we'll get this on our transmission jack. We'll get the transmission on it first, and then we'll slide it out. These transmissions are pretty light too. Alright, so let's buzz out these transmission bolts, the last couple bolts we got, and we'll just slide it on out. Looks like you need a new transmission valve. Transmission out. We're going to recommend axle seal replacement on both sides. So we'll call the customer and recommend a seal replacement. Obviously, we'll replace the clutch release bearing. This bearing is worn out pretty good. It'll come in the kit, so we'll get that replaced, and we'll get it all cleaned out, get all this old clutch material out of here. So that wraps up part 1, guys. Thanks for tuning in. If you want to support the channel, there's a link in the description. Check out my Patreon page. Make sure you like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys on the next one.